wena drive.
The reason why there is protocol, there's process, there's hierarchy, is to ensure that in the event your immediate supervisor, your immediate senior is compromised, you are able to escalate an issue to the higher power. But what happens if the higher power, the office of last instance, the most powerful office in a province, is compromised? I want you to understand that provincial departments, all of them report to the premier. And premier delegates specific powers to MECs. And MECs, there are accounting officers who are responsible for the runnings of a specific department. So as the MEC becomes the political head, the HOD becomes the accounting officer. But the premier becomes the number one citizen of the province. If anything goes wrong in any province, the only place where that issue needs to go to, the office of last instance, is the office of the premier. In the Eastern Cape, the office of the last instance is compromised. Compromised because some of the functionaries in that department who the premier would rely on for advice, execution, and people are compromised. So, welcome. My name is Isaack Lesole. For those who are asking, what's my name? I'm Isaack Lesole. I'm the host of Transit Ringers, the public transport watchdog. We operate in the public transport space. Our intention is to eventually make sure that the quality of service that public transport commuters receive in South Africa is of top-notch or quality. But we understand that before we get to realize that dream, that noble idea, we need to get the rod out, especially in various departments of transport. I'm here to say that in the Eastern Cape and many other departments, in fact, many other provinces, Department of Transport is in disarray. Various departments in disarray. All provinces. Okay? So today, I want every single citizen, whether you are a NEHAU member in the Eastern Cape, whether you are a functionary, an official in the Department of Transport, and in fact, all functionaries, all officials in the Eastern Cape, all of you, gather here, come here, come. Oh, gogo. Nalaba bangasebenzi. Scholar transport, taxi owners, taxi drivers, all of you gather here. Because the Department of Transport is responsible for your movement to the shops, to school, to work, and. So gather here. All of you gather here. But let me send my heart to the officials of the Department of Transport. Going deeper into what's happening in that department, I can see your pain. I can see you going into work every day and you don't know where to run to because the whole department, top heavy, corrupt on the top. I can imagine what happens to all the functionaries underneath this top heavy structure created. It might be created now, but I know that it was inherited. So MEC Ngata, you inherited a very collapsed department from your predecessor, the MEC, the previous one. Your mistake is that because your MEC, your predecessor, was from the same organization, you found it difficult for you to expose what they did. So you concealed information and carried on with what they have done. So today what I want to do is to draw a picture so that everyone understands, because we've been calling names, we've been talking to people, or talking about people. In some cases, we found ourselves calling a he, a she, but the names were right. The allegations that we make about around these names were correct. So we want to clean that today and make sure that those that are responsible are held accountable, so that everyone understand what's the role that they have played. So take your time and work with me. There's something, bariki quid pro quo. I'm going to show you what happened in this department. Because ultimately, I want you to understand, why do we have a problem that we have, and what are the problems that we're talking about? The problems that we're talking about, that the people that are politically connected are continuing to benefit because the system allows those who are close to power to participate in all opportunities that are created in that department or in the province, for all I care. But the reason I want to talk to you about this today is because there are kingmakers that are placed in the Premier's office. I am therefore saying, Premier Oscar Mabuyane, the people that you are relying on for advice, execution, and coordination have compromised your office, and unless you do something about them, you are going to have a problem. 2, the DG of the province, Sogoni, I want you to know that there are people who, by your authority, are closer to the Premier and are misleading the Premier deliberately and intentionally, and therefore the Premier is flying blind because of the people that are around. And one of them is Khaboushe. This Khaboushe guy, I want to remind you that we showed you a WhatsApp message that was between Sicilani and one of his friends. But in that WhatsApp message, which we will show again, Sicilani is saying Pilisile Milani wouldn't have survived if it was not because of the help that we got from Khaboushe. This Khaboushe person is a labor specialist who advised the Premier, is sitting in the Premier's office. So what we're going to do today is to actually analyze what the role of each of these kingmakers and pawns play in the game of chess. We will do so until we get to the bargaining council, because all the people that are mentioned here, we needed to understand what exactly have they done. But I'm saying to you, as a starting point, the Premier's office, or individuals in the Premier's office, very close to power, very close to the Premier, are involved in the corruption in the Eastern Cape. Where do the people in the Eastern Cape run to? Where do the poor run to? when the highest office in the province, the number one citizen's office in the province, is implicated. So first I must tell you that Sicilani and Pilisile Milani are friends. They are friends. They are both from Beacon Bay in the Eastern Cape. I'll tell you the streets, just for Popia. I will not mention this. But they are friends. I will also tell you that in the history of government, Pilisile Milani is the only person in the history of government who was appointed, who was interviewed and appointed in 3 days. From the day of his interview to the day when he got his appointment letter, it did not take 5 days. It has never happened in government. You know why? Because the policy says that before you confirm an appointment of somebody, there's a process you need to undertake. That's the process of verifying the qualifications, making sure that the references are okay. It did not happen. That's the reason why he ended up winning and being appointed in a position that he did not qualify. That position of a deputy director, labor relations, required somebody with a diploma, which he did not get. He did not have. But they deliberately made sure that he is not taken through that process so that it would look like an oversight. But who did that? I'm going to tell you that the second person who signed Pilisile Milani's appointment letter is Sicilani. The DDG in corporate services, the employer, the senior of Pilisile Milani. So Pilisile Milani reports to Sicilani. Now, this is where it's getting shocking and interesting. Is that one of the first tasks? Okay, before I get to that, let me tell you something very interesting. When Pilisile is appointed, Nehau, Macom, you guys raised an issue, irregularities regarding the appointment of this guy. Immediately after his appointment, he's placed on a special leave because his appointment was questionable from the beginning. Time, qualifications, everything was wrong. This is the one guy, he went to an interview, but his appointment letter was ready. Before the interview, it was ready. Because 2 days after his interview, the chairperson of that panel signed, and Sicilani, who was the secretary of that, he signed. This is where I start saying people by lawyer, because for God's sake, how do we come so clear? But we're gonna double click on these things. So Nehau raises an issue, says that we need to investigate this. So this Pilisile Milani guy is placed on special leave. You remember the special leave issue. You know why the people of South Africa had a problem with the special leave of Minister Senzo Mkhunu? Is because special leaves creates an environment where somebody can be cleared, investigated, and cleared while they get payments. That's exactly what they did with Pilisile Milani in the Eastern Cape. He's put on special leave. He continues to get paid. He's at home. While he is in that process, he's at home on special leave. This Sicilian guy then asked the Premier's office to investigate what could be mishaps because Nehau has already complained. This matter now goes to the person at the highest office, and this is this Khaboushe guy. He's supposed to be a specialist, a labor specialist in the office of the premier. He investigates. Remember that Pilisile Milani, there was no verification of his qualifications, and. The guy who's investigating this matter, who's requested to investigate, is this Khaboushe, labor specialist, who is in the office of the premier. Let me tell you what this guy does. The same person who forged his Z83, the qualifications, and misrepresented himself and falsified his qualification. This Khaboushe guy, who is the labor specialist in the office of the premier, clears this guy. He says that he found nothing wrong. So on the basis of that, this Pilisile Milani guy now needs to come back to work because he's been cleared by the office of the premier. But because there were multiple other stakeholders who are investigating this matter, one of the first responsibilities was to conceal and make sure that this problem does not blow up. So he is called in. He comes into the department under Sicilani, who is already under investigation. Sicilani himself, he's the DDG, Corporate Services. He himself is already in the PSC report, the report that says that people have been irregularly appointed. He is already investigated at the time. When he calls this Pilisile Milani guy back to work, the first of his Pilisile's responsibility is to terminate the mandate of the the law firm that was co-investigating the PSC report. The report that implicates Sicilani. So I'll give it to you as a fact that the position of a DDG in the Eastern Cape for corporate services required somebody with a master's degree. This moron called Sicilani does not have a master's degree. He has a BTech. I'll show you his qualifications. So he does not qualify. The PSC report says that you do not qualify. You are not supposed to be in this position. You must go. So Sicilani says to Milani, I brought you back. You need to suppress this report. That's why in that WhatsApp message, Sicilani is confidently saying to his friend that PSC report has no power. It will not go anywhere. You know why? Because he had now reappointed and got somebody who's going to manage that report. This is the reason why the letter that was written to the law firm was signed by Pilisile Milani, the one who does not qualify, the one who faked his qualification. He's the one who says that PSC report, bring it back here. I am going to be your only contact if there's any query, because that PSC report must be suppressed. Pilisile Milani is protected, is cleared by somebody in the premier's office. He's reinstated by his head, Sicilani. He's brought back to work because his responsibility is to make sure that the PSC report that implicates his boss, Sicilani, is taken out, is suppressed, concealed. You thought you knew state capture, and now you don't know what state capture is. The Beacon Bay boys are managing the province. They are managing the province together with others. So now we clear that the tripartite between Khaboushe, Sicilani, and Milani, it was an unhealthy, corrupt, and fraudulent relationship, because each one of them we can see what role they have played. I want to stop here. and tell you something. This is something that is very interesting. Khaboushe in the premier's office, he is not comfortable. He wanted to leave. Sicilani had promised him, fact, I'm not talking stories. Sicilani had promised him that as soon as things settle down, I am going to employ you in the Department of Transport where I have power after you do the work. Sicilani, therefore, he facilitates the memorandums and he takes it through the channel until the MEC signs an appointment, a memorandum that moves Khaboushe from the Premier's office into the Department of Transport. Now the Department of Transport wants everybody who's corrupt to come and operate here. Okay? Let me tell you why Khaboushe did not come to the Department of Transport, even though his memo was signed. It is because when he was just about to move, the MEC then discovered that the WhatsApp message that was circulating, that became public at the time, suggested that he's dancing to this guy's tune. Because remember, in that WhatsApp message, Sicilian is saying, the MEC is dancing to our tune now. He's now our puppet. The MEC literally, and I mean literally, teared the memo like this because he was pissed that these guys, this is what they say about him when he's not around. That's the only reason why this Khaboushe guy is sitting there. But the reason why this guy is sitting here, look at almost every single department in the Eastern Cape has got someone who has falsified their qualification. And the chief investigator in some of these things is this Khaboushe guy, the same guy who cleared Pilisile Milani. Therefore, it should not be surprising for you guys to find that there's a spokesperson of the Department of Health, there's somebody in the Department of Economic Development who has been investigated but cleared. That's basically what it is. I am here to come and tell you that the Department of Transport in the Eastern Cape is in deep trouble. And until Mbulelo Sogoni, I believe I call your name right, as the accounting officer in that province, I urge you right now. The name of the premier is now making rounds in the Department of Transport in the Eastern Cape. He is your boss. He's going to be compromised by these morons in the department there who are doing everything to protect themselves. But Sicilani, who's the DDG, Milani, who's the deputy director reporting directly to this one, that cohort is a cohort of corrupt guys, but they have tentacles everywhere. As we speak, Milani is a representative of the department in a clear case at the bargaining council, by the way, in a clear case of corruption. There's an inspector, maybe I must call this inspector by name. This inspector, and I'm going to give you the case number so that you can verify if I am, telling you hogwash. First, here's the case number. It's at SAPS Cambridge. I wonder who's the complainant here. I just want the complainant. I wish this. I'm told that the complainant here is someone who is still in the department, in the inspectorate at Cambridge. Here's the case number 47 of 12, 2023. The suspect was arrested. Suspect's name is Mazizi, Senior Provincial Inspector in Amatola District. This person was arrested, confirmed that he has met. This lady is still at work. It's a lady. Went to jail, was on bail, came back to work. And therefore, the documents are beginning to disappear in the department. What do you expect? But what happens to the people that are whistleblowing, that are giving you information of corruption? You are going to kill people because you allow the corrupt ones to continue. But we understand there's nothing that you can do because the structure on top is corrupt. The Department of Transport needs Jesus. Churches, people, prayer warriors in the Eastern Cape, you need to pray for that province. It is going to collapse in the hands of certain individuals. For the life of me, I still do not understand why is the ANC not doing something about this. Okay, somebody would say, these are all cadres of the ANC. All of these are cadres of the ANC. But I don't want to talk about the ANC and the politics here. I want to talk about corruption that has affected people. I'm showing you these things because I wanted to illustrate that when a department or a system is broken, poor people are going to bear the brunt. The system now allows someone who has the right contract with the department to be replaced by a phone call. You can get a call in the Department of Transport across all the regions. You will get a call and say that your contract is terminated. And somebody new is going to occupy that route. And I'm talking Scholar Transport. There are cases of people who have been paid. I know of somebody in Queenstown who was frustrated for more than 5 years to get a payment because they had the right contract. They fought, at least they fought. In the process, they lost the vehicles because they could not afford. They've been frustrated. But alongside that process, there was somebody who was appointed because by the time they gave them a call to say that your contract was terminated, they already started appointing somebody and signing a contract with. So they were obliged to pay that person. So they paid that person and still paid the original owner of the contract. Guys, Eastern Cape is in trouble. And maybe let me just clear something. That I am not here to make Eastern Cape look like the most corrupt province of all. Because some of these problems that I'm talking about, they exist in other provinces. They exist in Limpopo. They exist in Gauteng. They exist. But the depth of rot in the Eastern Cape is deeper, and I'll tell you why. The reason why the people in the Eastern Cape can get away with murder is because immediate authority will be people from the same party. So the MECs will be deployed by the ANC. It's not the situation in other provinces. It's only the ANC that deploys, in administration and in the political offices. So the hierarchy, the senior, the power base is still controlled by the ANC. That's why if the previous MEC made a mistake, they're still covered because the MEC that follows will be coming from the ANC, and the DG that will be appointed will be coming from the ANC, because the ANC deploys there's this thing called cadre deployment. The ANC deploys people, and I mean, we must be clear that there is no government in the world that takes people who are not aligned to their vision and mission. So when they choose you because you are aligned, and therefore you will execute and implement what the policies that they were voted for demands of you. But some of the mistakes that the ANC makes is appointing people just by being a member of the organization, not on merit. Therefore, it means that you are appointed because you've been zabalazing with me. You've been singing Zoinyova together. And by that, you are qualified to be called in this position. And I'm not saying for a second that the people that are appointed in positions of power by the ANC are not qualified. I am saying that there are those that do not qualify, but above that, there are those that are corrupt to the core. And the illustration is in the Eastern Cape. The people in the Eastern Cape, operators are losing their vehicles. They can't pay their installments. They can't procure petrol. They can't maintain their vehicles. And therefore, the wear and tear on the vehicles is scary. And immediately after that, the traffic officers on the ground, they don't know what's going on, or they pretend they don't know. They then come to your vehicle and they find your vehicle in a state of disarray, and they impound your vehicle or they take it off the road. Is it not time that the MEC of Transport in the Eastern Cape can issue an instructions across all that the people, especially the scholar transport operators, their vehicles should not be impounded? Because and I know that it's a problem legally when you look at it, because you are actually saying that you must suspend the laws of the republic, and that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that in the event where we are aware that the damage that we are seeing in the operators' lives, both in their vehicles and their livelihoods, is caused by a department of government that is ruling that province. In Gauteng, when e-hailing operators' vehicles were impounded by the metros, the MEC of Transport issued a memorandum, a schedule that said that stop with the impoundment, especially if people are having proof that they've applied for their permit. If they don't have it and they have proof, don't impound their vehicles, because the metros were impounding vehicles on the mistake caused by government. I beg. Get these morons out of that department. Nehau. Talking to the provincial office here. You have representatives who did a sterling job of flagging the appointment of this Pilisile guy. Please take this matter up. I'm begging you, Nehau, this is for you. Go out there and get this guy. There's a case that's opened against Pilisile Milani. Let this guy go, man. He was already on suspension. Why did you bring him back? Okay, no, you didn't bring him back. He was brought by this other friend of his from Beacon Bay. He's a drunkard. One of them is a drunkard here, because in that WhatsApp, Sicilani says, now stop doing things when you are drunk, because next time there will not be a Khaboushe at the premier's office to clean your mess. This drunkard was drunk at the tavern there. And he was telling people that nobody will do anything. How do we know this? He said this in the SMSs and the WhatsApp that he was sharing now recently, to say that no, I have got my guy. His name is Solomzi at the bargaining council. I've got my guy. He's reckless, this one. He's reckless, he's a fool. He just speaks and he writes. And he's exposing all of you. Get rid of this thing, man. Let this thing go. Anyway, we're going to arrest it because this thing is not helping. This thing is just there pleasing you with KFC there. I'm sure your stomachs are full of KFC because he buys KFC for all of you there. What is nonsense going on there, man? So I'm going to give you nightmares. When you see my face on the screen, you must know there's trouble. But you will see my face even when you're closing your eyes at night. Because all these scumbags that have taken this province for a ride, we are going to call them by name. Never trust anybody who wants to subject you to a process. If you don't know, ask Mkonazi. General Mkonazi will tell you that I did everything according to the process. I even went to parliament. Now, those who wants to get rid of me are now saying that I should have taken this matter back to parliament and not to DA. Bradenbach. I always had respect for Bradenbach. But here's a person who ran to South Africans because you politicians, you conceal information based on process. He came to you guys, you did nothing about it, and he came to South Africans. Now South Africans are talking. You are saying, why didn't you come back? Are you out of your mind? You guys need to chill now. Premier, those people voted for the ANC there. You better do something about this situation. But I know that you guys are dangerous. I know that you can remove a person from a system. You can declare somebody dead when they are alive. I know that the lady who was one of the whistleblowers on the PSC report, you changed her status at Home Affairs and declared her dead. She only recovered that she was dead and her qualifications were null and void. Only 2 years ago, she got her life back. You guys are dangerous. Bloody fools. My people, till we meet again next time, we're not going to rest. We're going deeper and deeper. And what's coming next will shock you. Isaack Lesole, I'm out.
Yo, and I drive.